How do you like it here at Gamescom, and how is it working for you so far?
Oh, I love Gamescom. This is a blast. You know, we have our biggest fan base on Guild Wars is in Europe, so we always look forward to getting out here, getting to actually meet and talk to everybody. The fans out here are fantastic, and this game show is awesome. It's huge. It's the biggest game show that any of us have ever been to, so it's pretty exciting to get to come do this.
Okay, there are 2 new races playable, and after all, there are in the game 4 new races playable. And who does invent those races? They are pretty unique. There are no other game. Maybe Norn, some kind of giant, bigger creatures, but who does that? Who invents? Who's got the idea? Okay, we want to do some elf droid thing but we call it Silvari and we make our very own one.
So it's a combination of a lot of people generally, and it varies race by race. So like the Char, the original bad guys from Guild Wars 1, in particular Katie Hargrove from our character art team, was kind of the main driving force behind coming up with the Char and the look of the Char. And the story of them came from more of like the world design team a little bit. When you look at like the Silvari and the Asura and the Norn, it's a combination of the design team, the world designers like Jeff Grubb and Rhys Osby, who are, they're fantastic novelists, they're incredible writers, and they play a big part in coming up with the lore and the history of the races in the game. The design team helps drive a lot of the concepts behind what that race is and how they're going to play. And then the art team plays a huge role in defining the look and the characteristic of that race. Kristen Perry, for example, has been re-arting the Silvari in her free time for the last 6 months. And that rework that she's been doing really defined a lot of the role of what the Silvari played in the game and the look of them. So it's a combination of all of those teams, and then feedback from everybody, the fans, feedback from the company. We're constantly playing those races and iterating on them and looking at their stories and finding ways that we can make more creative characters and stronger stories with those races in the world.
Cool. And if you invent such races, are there any advices like to do what is biological possible in such a world, and also concerning architecture? Are there any guys you can ask for advice?
Yeah, the art team is the big place we go on that. There are a lot of folks on the character art team who have strong understandings of biology and how characters should be put together. As designers, we don't really pay attention to that stuff. We just make up crazy ideas like, let's have frog people with 5 legs, and they're like, yeah, we shouldn't do that. Why don't we give them 2 legs and we give that a shot? We just kind of make stuff up, and then people run with it and they make it look beautiful. That's really a big part of what our art team does, is take our crazy ideas as designers and find ways to actually make them work in the game. Our character artists and environment artists and animators, all of them are working together all the time to help define the look and the feel of a race and of an area of the game world, and to make it actually believable and realistic, while also being sort of pseudo-fantasy realistic at the same time. And I think that the cohesion between all of those teams is part of the reason the Guild Wars 2 world is so strong, is they really create believable environments and environments that you would want to play in, and they do that really well together to create a strong sense of synergy between the characters and their animations and the environments that they live in.
Okay. As you introduce waypoints, if you leave the game and get back, log in back. In Guild Wars 1 it was you get to the nearest outpost. How will it be in a persistent area like Guild Wars 2?
So right now the way it works is you actually return exactly where you logged out. You are returned exactly there in the game at the exact same place that you logged out. You're not returned at a waypoint, nothing like that. We're still finalizing the details on how we're going to handle some of that, because you could log back in and you could be standing in the middle of an event that's going on, and maybe that's exactly what we want. That could actually be really exciting. So we're going to have to see if there's specific cases where we need to handle weird situations where we don't want you standing in the middle of a town that got conquered or something. We might need to do a little bit of stuff to move you to the nearest safe waypoint, but for the most part right now it's pretty much you just log back in wherever you logged out. Okay.
Concerning traveling, there will be Asura portals, and in the novels it is that you tune the Asura gates to many directions and many points. How will that work in the game, and will you be able to get from both sides to another?
So the tuning of Asura gates is not something you're going to encounter very often in Guild Wars 2. Generally in the major cities, the Asura gate is specifically tuned to one location, and they don't retune it because it's extremely expensive. The Asura want a lot of money when you ask them to retune a gate, and so people very rarely go through doing that. It's also a lot of work for them to do it. So the major cities all kind of have their core trade routes that they use the Asura gates for, and they don't generally retune those if they can help it. There are some dynamic events that actually happen out in the explorable world that involve finding old broken down gates, repairing them, and actually tuning them and see where they go. And you can discover old Asura labs from hundreds of years ago that no one has been in for hundreds of years through dynamic event chains that open up those Asura gates and let you go explore labs of famous Asura scientists from the past.
Okay, great. And those Asura gates, in the novels, they had different colors. Those magic, whatever it is, to the eternal alchemy, where it goes, nobody knows, I think. Yeah. And do those different colors have a meaning, or is it just art?
Right now it's just different art looks. We may decide to use specific colors to denote specific areas or how far the gates go. We haven't finalized that, but there are different colored Asura gates also in the game right now too.
Okay. You talked about dynamic events. Comes up in every interview, I guess. There will be a sidekick system that the events scale, but if it really is so that a level 1 player is together with a level 80 player, how will that work?
So if the level 80 player comes back to the level 1 area and they start running around killing stuff, the game will auto sidekick them down to the max reasonable level for that area. So it would put them at like level 4 or level 5 or something like that. Statistically, they will still be very powerful for that area, but not so powerful that they're going to ruin the experience for everyone else. So it allows them to actually go back and play a lot of the content earlier in the game if they want to. It also gives you the key message of choice. That's a big part of Guild Wars 2, is giving you that choice to do what you want to do. And through the sidekicking system, we can let you go play with your friends wherever they are in the game world. And that's really important to us, is you should have the choice to play the game with who you want to play it and how you want to play it. And sidekicking enables us to do that. It's also a great anti-griefing mechanism to prevent people from going back and ruining the game in early parts too.
Okay. Jeff Grubb mentioned armor sets. It's something you haven't talked about very much yet. Will it still be implemented, and are there some kind of bonus on those if you got all parts?
So yeah, there are armor sets in the game, and the armor sets are basically a complete set of gear that shares the same art look to them. So they are, you can get those on a number of different ways. There are some that are sold by merchants. There are some that you can craft. There are some that you get through karma vendors. Those are all different ways in the game world to acquire those. Then there are rare armor sets that you can acquire from explorable dungeons, which are the really hard, repeatable dungeons in the game world. And for those, you can trade in credits that you get, basically tokens you get for completing the explorable dungeon. You can trade those in to get pieces of armor sets to build out the entire set. And the sets have statistics based on their level. They also have open areas that you can put in crests, which are the statistical bonuses you can apply to armors. But above all else, they're cosmetic looks, and then they have statistics on them based on the level of armor that they belong to.
Okay. Concerning the multiple languages in the game, you haven't announced very much yet. I guess English, German, and French was announced. Will there be Bork?
Will there be what?
Bork.
Oh. I don't know if we're going to have Bork Bark. We'll see. At this point, those are the only languages we've announced for sure. We're still researching all potential language options, including the Bork. We'll see what happens there.
And will it be able to voice chat with other players in the game?
We haven't announced details yet on how we're going to handle any sort of in-game chat mechanism when it comes to voice. That's something we'll talk about more down the road.
Okay. In Guild Wars 1, you could at least ping those players which enemy to attack if you're in a group. How will this be handled in Guild Wars 2, where you can't actually focus on an enemy?
So you actually can. You can even, in the demo build we brought here today, you can call targets now if you're in a group. And if you call targets, other people can click, just like in Guild Wars 1, it's the exact same system.
How do you call it?
So it's like Shift-T or Alt-T calls the target, and then everyone else can just click and follow that target as well, and it auto puts them on that target.
And can you give another orders like heal that one or put there a flame barrier or?
Right now, the only automatic one is to call a specific target, and then everybody else can click T and basically jump on that target. But it's entirely possible we may do more orders than that as we go down the road. You could always just type into chat with your party and be like, hey, put the firewall down if you need it, right?
There will be also guns in the game. Arrows you can avoid. You can dodge from arrows. Can you dodge from shoots?
Yes. Actually, in the latest build we brought here for Cologne, when you dodge, you actually evade all attacks. So even if it's a rifle shot, you would dodge and evade out of that attack.
Okay, but you can't avoid any spells or
any projectiles you're able to evade. Yep.
Okay. You talked recently about the Holy Trinity, which is a concept that won't occur in Guild Wars 2. Many people will be glad about this, but in Guild Wars 1 I know some people that love to farm, love to grind, and I personally can't say that for myself, but will those players be satisfied in a way?
Yeah, I think that our achievement system will be one of the things that we have in the game that those players are really going to enjoy. Achievements allow you to basically earn really cool titles based on doing a number of different activities in the game, and it's sort of like the collect them all idea where you have all this stuff that you can do in the game to build up your achievements. That's directly aimed at that person who wants to have a ton of stuff that they can just try to go out in the world and accomplish and do. And some of those will be very hard tasks, some of them are going to take a lot of work. All of that is purely optional, it's not something you have to do, but we have those kind of things in there for that type of player.
Yeah, in Guild Wars 1 those Holy Trinity or maybe other builds were specifically for one area. Maybe you got Cathedral of Flames builds or Gate of Pain, Gate of Anguish builds, and they got very specific skills they put in their skill bar, and so that worked in a very fast way, speed clear. Will that also be kind of implemented in Guild Wars 2?
I think that if we accomplish our goals with Guild Wars 2 and the way that the game is intended to be played, that you're going to see less people coming up with this is the build that you have to play. You know, in Guild Wars 1 it was about who can make the best build, and then that is the build that we use to try to beat everybody, and to a lesser degree it was how well you can play it. I mean, that came into it, but the build making was a big part of it. In Guild Wars 2, the game is really more about not necessarily who makes the best build, it's who's the best player. You could make all of us could make great builds, and then it's a matter of how well we play against each other and how we react to what the other person is doing and dynamically respond to it and deal with it. You know, our creatures are going to be using skills that require you to actually, you know, think about and react and interact with them, as opposed to bringing a very specific, like, this is the build I use to defeat this area. Instead, it should be, what is the thing that I do to defeat this area based on what's going on right now? The dynamic event system plays into that, where, you know, the content is changing and dynamically changing the things that you're dealing with. So you don't necessarily bring one build to do everything. You can if you want. But instead, you're reacting to what's being created in the world and what things are doing, and you're changing your tactics on the fly to resolve those. And I think that that's a more fun style of gameplay. It's more interactive, it's less repetitive, it's more making you think as opposed to just walking in and just hitting the same buttons over and over again and following the same build.
Okay. You talked about sharing experience while in the game. You always said that it will be fair, it will be good, but how exactly does it work? How will it be? You said that those who actively take part get more experience than others that are only in the area. But how is it divided? In which ratio is it divided?
So there's a couple different layers of shared experience, basically, and shared goals. Just attacking a single creature. If I attack a creature and you come over and help me kill it, we both get full experience and we both get a roll on the loot table for that creature. We both have to do a minimum damage threshold to qualify for that. So like if you come up and attack him one time, you're not going to get anything. But you do need to do at least a reasonable amount of damage. And as long as you qualify for that, you will get full experience. You don't get a portion of it. You get the full experience and you get a roll on the loot table for reward that creature. And I would get the same. We might get completely different loot, but we would get the exact same experience and we'd get a roll. If that creature was tied to an event, we would earn participation towards that event as well for helping kill that creature. And in events, there are different participation thresholds. So if you do a little bit in an event, you can qualify for the bronze reward, which is smaller amounts of gold, karma, and experience. If you do a decent amount of stuff, you can get the silver award, which gives you a larger amount of those rewards. And if you get gold experience, which is basically you participated in the event. You were there, you killed some creatures, you maybe defended a capture point, or you escorted a guy. You were there playing actively. You're going to get gold. Then you will get the full experience, karma, and gold for that event.
And the game is able to specify that?
Yes, it's constantly polling and looking at all the things you're doing to reward you. When we say participating in an event, you have to get rewarded. You have to be actively participating in the event. If you stand in the middle of the event and do nothing, the game is recognizing you're doing that and it won't give you any rewards. We are constantly polling and using intelligent game AI basically to detect what's going on and to detect if you deserve rewards for things.
Okay. There will be an, how do you call it, auction house for trade in-game?
Yeah, we're basically having a marketplace.
Marketplace. How does it exactly work?
So we haven't revealed all the details on the marketplace yet. That's something we're going to talk about more down the road when we have everything completely to the point that we're ready to show it all. I will say it has a couple features to it that are unique. It does have the basic auction house functionality where you can put stuff up for sale, people can come buy stuff, just like you would find in any great MMO. We also have an additional feature, which is you can basically say, I'm looking for this item. You can set a price you're willing to pay for that item, and anyone can come up and accept that and say, I have that item, I'll accept it. And instantly the transaction goes through where you get the item and they get your money. Because you listed up there, you're willing to pay this much for something. So it's basically an on-demand system where you're like, I really want this thing, and then people can come up and just exchange.
And will we be able to control it remotely? There will be some mobile apps you talked about, and will the marketplace also be controlled remotely?
We'll talk about all of that more down the road when we go into all the marketplace details. Yeah.
It's not long ago, on April the 1st, there was a very special unit,
yes,
the very special class in Guild Wars 2, who had such a very strange idea.
That was the cinematics team, all the way. Those guys are fantastic, and they came up with the idea to do it. They made the video in their free time for fun, put all of that together. Horia and AJ and Duncan and Jeff and Vicky and all those guys, they do amazing work over there, and they just did that for fun. And that's one of the things that makes ArenaNet such a great company to work for, is when you work with a group of people who are willing to just be like, let's just go do this on our, let's stay late one night and put some of this together, let's work weekends to put this together. That is incredible to work with people who want to put that much free time into making something just for fun for April Fools. And you'll actually notice as you're walking around the show floor today, some of the ArenaNet folks brought Commando jerseys with them that have the little Arena logo on it, and they look a little Commando-esque like out of the video. They're pretty sweet.
Great. And there was also implemented in a quest chain in Guild Wars 1. And how did that work? The cinematic team had the idea, and
yeah, so the cinematic team decided they were going to do that for April Fools, and the GW1 live team decided, hey, that's a great idea, let's run with that. And so they went off, and they, in their free time, put together their own April Fool's Day thing, building off of the Commando idea. So they had their Terminator-esque storyline in Guild Wars 1. So yeah, that was just everybody working together, coming up with fun ideas to kind of grief our fans a little bit.
And then how free are you to decide what you can do?
We're pretty free to experiment. I think it's one of the reasons why we've accomplished what we're able to do at Guild Wars, with Guild Wars at ArenaNet, is everyone is really given the freedom to just kind of do stuff. It's like, hey, if you have a great idea and you think this is going to work, do it. Let's try it, and if it worked, it's in the game. And if it didn't work, hey, that's okay. At least you tried something, we learned from it, and we move on. But that's a big part of our studio culture. That is a big part of what makes us who we are. When we say that we're a company that innovates, that's what that means, is you have to take chances and you have to let everybody go out there and try things and innovate. And those are stories right there of exactly that happening. I remember the very first holiday festival we did in Guild Wars 1 for Halloween. It was Gail Gray, our community manager at the time, sent out an email to everyone saying, hey, we're going to have a meeting Friday afternoon about potentially doing some holiday stuff. This might be really fun. If you're interested, just show up and maybe we'll work on it this weekend. And I walked down there for the meeting and I expected there to maybe be 3 or 4 people in the room and maybe we'd come up with something small. There was like 50 people, which at the time there was only like 75 people at ArenaNet. There was like 50 people crammed into this tiny meeting room and everyone was throwing out ideas. One guy was like, I'll make a corpse you can walk on and it'll talk when you walk on it. And other people were like, let's make a guy named Mad King who wears a pumpkin head and he'll taunt you. And this, you know, over the course of a couple hours, literally all of the stuff that happened in that first Halloween festival came out of that meeting. And everyone worked all night, all weekend building that festival. And it was ready to go in like a week. And we got it in the game and it was fantastic and our fans loved it. And we said, okay, now we have to do holiday festivals. And from that point forward, we started doing them. And then every time we said, well, we have to do a bigger holiday festival. We have to make it better. So every time holiday festivals came up, a group of people each year volunteered their time for fun and worked weekends and worked over holidays to build those festivals and put them in the game. And that's the kind of stuff where there was no one standing there saying, no, you can't do that. It was just, go have fun, make amazing stuff the players are going to love, and let's put it in there for the holiday festivals. And that's how we do things.
How will holiday festivals be in Guild Wars 2?
We haven't decided yet exactly how we're going to do that. They'll probably come out of a meeting like I just described, but we definitely will do special holiday events in Guild Wars 2. We kind of have a tradition of that now in Guild Wars 1, and we wouldn't want that to go away.
And there will be Carnival all over the year in Divinity's Reach.
Correct, yes.
Will you be able to participate to entertain other players?
Well, I think that some of the Carnival stuff we're still working on. If you want to participate, you could always go in there and role play, and you could dance around in your underwear or whatever you want and entertain other players. People, you know, we're really hoping that our role-playing communities are going to take advantage of these locations we've built where there's stages and there's carnivals, and they're going to go in there and they're going to put on their own events, and they're going to put on a play in the middle of Divinity's Reach, or you know, they'll have a conga line that runs around in circles around the giant one-man band. Whatever they want to do, we want to give them locations where they can do that stuff, and then it's up to them to kind of, you know, take advantage of it. We will do things like holiday festivals to help encourage that kind of activity and behavior. We will do some mini games that give you a little bit of that carnival-esque feeling. You know, there's a shooting range that you can go in and you can shoot targets for points and compete against other players. There's a perpetual bar brawl going on in Divinity's Reach, and it's right next to where the carnival is. So you can go from the carnival and wander on over into the bar brawl, and you can beat up people with bottles and chairs and you know, have a little bar brawl fight with them. So a lot of those mini games have kind of that sense of humor and fun in them to tie into those carnivals and the fun stuff we want to do.
Will you be able to play instruments, not just the air guitar?
We'll see. Right now we don't have plans for any specific instrument playing mini game or anything like that, but you never know. There is a one-man band that's playing in Divinity's Reach all the time, and you may be able to pick from a song list what songs it plays, so people can go up and treat it like a jukebox and actually switch up the songs that are going on.
Will that be possible for the in-game music as well?
We haven't talked about that yet. So right now there is no plans to do that, but that's another one where you never know. Between now and release, we might decide to do something like that.
Okay. In Carnival, there's this big mechanical orchestra. It's called Userland's Mechanical Orchestra. Who was that guy?
He is a inventor, a brilliant inventor.
Human?
Yeah, and when I say one-man band, that's what I'm referring to, is the Userland's invention. So yeah, Userland is a human, and he has built some fantastic devices, and I'm not going to spoil any more than that.
Okay. If you get names like Userland, who comes up with ideas to name people, places, whatever? I guess it's the writers team, but they have to stick to specific rules, I guess. And do they throw some Scrabble letters?
It's a combination of Jeff Grubb, Rhys Osby, and the folks on the writing team, they usually work together to come up with the names of major characters in the game world, of locations in the game world, and they base those off of, they run around in the map and they look at the location and try to come up with a name that's fitting for it. For the character, who knows, it could be Scrabble. They come up with some fantastic names. I have no idea how they do it, I can't do that, but yeah, they come up with some great stuff. And a lot of times actually the designers come up with names too. So our process basically works, so the design team roughs in a lot of the content, and we rough in the text, and we'll write like, we'll name a character Joe Billy Bob, and then we'll send it over to the writing team, and they rename that character to a real name that makes sense for the game world. But we have designers who are very good writers, and they write various levels of content. Some designers write everything. Some designers put in, hey, writers put cool stuff here. It really varies on a designer by designer basis. But the ones who are very good writers actually have a lot of the characters' names in the world stick the names that the writer originally, or the designer originally wrote. The writer looks at the name and they go, that's a great name, let's keep it, and they go with it. It really just varies character by character. But yeah, the locations are definitely the world designers and the writing team working together to come up with those.
We had a lot of heroes in Guild Wars 1. They had all their own storyline, they had their own background. Will there be some kind of backflashes, or will we experience what happened to them?
There are stories hidden all over the world that refer to storylines and characters from Guild Wars 1. And I can't say for sure if you'll run into stories about different heroes. It's entirely possible. You're going to have to explore the world for yourself and see what's out there. I think it's more fun if you guys go and discover that stuff on your own than I tell you exactly what's there. But yeah, we do try to, for our Guild Wars 1 fans, and for people who don't know anything about Guild Wars 1 but want to learn the lore of the world, we try to hide little storylines and characters who tell stories about the history of the world all over the entire game world. So everywhere you're going, you have incentive to explore and find new things. You might find a book in a catacombs and you go up and read it, and it has an entire story on it that tells you, what happened to a character from Guild Wars 1, or what happened in the catacombs that led it to the state that it's in. So you're going to find stuff like that all over the game world to help encourage people to explore and to build that strong sense of lore and world for the game.
And will we meet the characters of the novels? Well, I know Edge of Destiny you will play with, but maybe Dougal Keen, or I forgot the Char's name.
There might be a few characters from Ghosts of Ascalon floating out there in the game world somewhere.
And the Golem's Eye, will it play a role?
What's that?
The Golem's Eye, this big jewel?
It could.
Okay. In Lion's Arch, there are all over the place blue sails, blue...
Yeah, they're almost like awnings, just kind of covering everything.
Yeah. Why is it that color?
So it's actually very specific. It's because when you get up in various spots of Lion's Arch where there are huge vistas that look over the marketplace, in particular the marketplace is the entire area covered in those blue sails in the central part of the city. When you get up on vistas and look down on it, or when you're down inside of it, it actually looks like waves, and it's these little blue things going like this, and it gives these incentive's the wrong word. It gives you the idea that you're actually in the ocean, and it gives kind of this oceanic feel to it. So you've got these little half-wrecked ships that people are using as merchant stands, and you have broken apart ship pieces that make up all the walkways and everything through there. And then those little blue awnings give you the sense that there's like this ocean above you. It's actually a really cool atmospheric feel while you're running around in there.
And will we be able to get on airships?
There are airships in Guild Wars 2. They will play into the game in some way. There are no mounts in Guild Wars 2. There will be no mounts upon release of Guild Wars 2. And so the airships, they won't be a mount that you can fly around on. But the airships will factor into the gameplay in Guild Wars 2 somewhere.
So I guess we have to come to an end.
Yeah, so I got one more question.
Okay.
If you got one more, go for it.
When will you release the 8th class?
We haven't announced yet when we're going to release that. It's pretty much when we're completely happy with it and when it's ready, we will announce it.
And the beta?
Exact same situation. We're in closed alpha right now. We've announced that we will go into closed beta before the end of the year. Based on the outcome of the closed beta, we'll determine our basically following beta schedule, and based on the outcome of that, we'll determine our release date. So when we say we don't know when the beta is going to be, we don't know when the release date is going to be, we're being honest, where we want to make sure that stuff is in the right state, that we're totally happy with it, and then we'll move on to the next step of production from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.